Hey troopers, welcome back to the 501st Com Chatter with myself, Will, and my wonderful co-host. How are we doing? We are coming to you live today from the fields of Mustafa. We are baking, we are sweating, it is very warm. I don't know how Vader coped. I'm a little bit hot right now. Yeah. It's a bit of a heat wave going on in the UK at the minute, and we are struggling. So if you can hear a little bit of a sort of noise in the background, it's our fan because we need it. It's way too hot. Yes, we are from the lava fields of Mustafa today. But we are back with a bumper episode today. We got episodes 3 and 4 to talk about with Ahsoka. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying now, I mean, if you're watching this podcast or listening to it and you haven't seen Ahsoka yet, what are you doing? There's spoilers ahead. Major spoilers ahead.
Yeah, we don't want to spoil it for anyone.
Yeah.
So if you've not seen the newest 2 episodes, then please watch later after you've seen them.
Yes. Also, before we begin, just want to say another thank you to Alpine Vader, who joined us last week. That was a really fun episode, really cool getting to know the sort of, what it takes to wear the costume and how he does it in his iconic look. And, it was a real pleasure having him on. We hope to have him on again. And yes, can't wait for it. So I'm going to start with the news before we get into it. It is a bit Ahsoka related anyway. Mm-hmm. Well, before that, personal news. We have ordered the Republic gunship.
Yes.
It is on its way.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully we'll get it within the next few days because it's saying it's been shipped. So once we receive it, we'll show it on the podcast.
Yes, I'm hoping tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully it turns up tomorrow, and then that is our plan tomorrow. Doing the Republic gunship.
We'll post it on the socials.
Yeah, keep an eye out because you're gonna want to see that boy because it's
a big one.
It is a good one. Also, in other sort of Lego rumored news, the Venator that we're getting is apparently going to have 4 mini LA-80s gunships. So it's going to have 4 mini ones apparently, and it's going to have a hangar bay in the middle, so like you can actually sort of put your little mini ships in it, which I think is really cool.
That would be really cute.
So maybe it might have the door, the top doors that open. Yeah. That'd be really cool. Can you imagine that? You could literally.
Yeah, that'd be so cool.
Yeah. But yeah, so hopefully that one will be getting next month, and can't wait for that. We haven't got any space for it, but it's going to be good.
We'll find something.
Yes. Last little bit of news that I have seen. I can't tell you exactly where because I don't know myself, but I have seen that on the in the sort of Star Wars news, the episode 5 of Ahsoka is going to be shown in some select cinemas.
Oh, yeah, I saw this too.
Which would be very, very cool, to be honest. I mean, I think that already tells you the scale of the episode if they're planning to put episode 5 in cinemas. I kind of want to have a little look, see if it is in cinema, and maybe go to that.
Any of our local ones.
But yeah, so if any of you guys are lucky enough to go see episode 5 next week in the cinema, let us know. We'd love to hear that someone was able to witness it on the big screen.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just in America or something, but we'll have a check.
Yep, I mean,
would be a good one.
I want to see it in the cinema. Maybe I'll just rent out the local cinema and be like, no, I need it for this morning. Just there, sat there, just me and you and the whole screen, just like,
fun, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Get all the Star Wars fans to join us.
Yep, I think it's about 15 minutes
Oh, okay.
I think.
Mm.
And
I mean, this one's going to be directed by Dave Filoni, so
you just know,
we
you know where it's
Right.
going. You know where it's going. So gonna get into the episode. Obviously, we're probably going to be talking about episode 4, probably a lot more because more happened.
Mm-hmm.
But episode 3, episode 3 wasn't was quite good in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Not as good as 1 and 2,
Mm-hmm.
but then again, it's hard to follow up what happened in 1 and 2, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Especially like number 2, that was one of my favorite ones. I was like, this is really good.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just get something up. But yeah, so the episode sort of, starts off with Sabine doing a bit of Jedi training on board the ship. And I thought it was quite cool to see Hu Yang was doing it with like the 4 of his arm, well, his all 4 arms, very Grievousy.
General Grievous, yes.
Yep.
And he had like all these like training. Like I don't think we saw that in Clone Wars at all. We had like these training saber things, and every time she hitted one of these things, it almost like recorded it, and he was like, "You're off."
Yeah, well, like, at the end of it, you could see
cool.
very clearly when he held up, and I thought it was really cool because when you're looking at like Jedi and they're all like, it's very like, oh, it's a hit or that. Yeah. But when you actually look at like the training recording, you can see that like there was a couple where she was accurate, and then there was a couple where it was like the line was like completely skewered, and she completely had like mishit it, which I thought was quite cool. But then interesting way to start the episode off, and then obviously we see.
And obviously, like with him having the extra arms and stuff, like General Grievous, he's almost training her for like a quite strong.
Yeah.
Almost like overtraining her, so she's like prepared for the worst case scenario.
Dealing with a multi-armed opponent than such a.
Even though the only one we know of is General Grievous, but better to be safe, I suppose.
Crow.
If another one. Oh yeah.
And he had 2 double, but he didn't use all 4, but he had like 2 double blades, didn't he?
Yeah.
So
I forgot about that.
But then there's his species as well. They got like 4 arms.
Yeah.
So. But interesting to see that. And then we get a little nod, little sort of, as we say, reference to A New Hope when Ahsoka gets Sabine to put the helmet on, and she can't see, and gets her to sort of feel where, like, to anticipate. Now, what I thought was really clever that they did in the shot, they changed the audio. So when Sabine was sort of first getting used to it, Ahsoka was like, listen out to my voice. And they put it as if it was coming through like the left stereo. Like they cut it off from the right and it was only from the left. And then when she was like, I'm over here, it only came out from the right and the camera turned and she was stood there to make you feel like Sabine. Where it's like when you hear someone over there. It's like, I thought that was really
almost
cleverly
like
done.
Certain bits of music, like when you listen to songs
yes.
and stuff when it comes out of this speaker and this speaker. I feel like I need to rewatch this now with headphones on because I couldn't tell it from the TV.
Probably, yeah. I mean, honestly, if you.
That's really cool.
It's interesting though how they've done it, but they make it. It makes you feel like you're doing it from Sabine's point of view, where you're like, you're hearing Ahsoka here, so and then she's actually over here. And I think that was very clever. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and then obviously she clearly has no idea where Ahsoka is. Ahsoka keeps just sort of tapping her arms. Like she is really not feeling it with the Force. And then there's a tiny little bit at the very end where she turns around and all of like blocks Ahsoka, and then she does a little bit of blocking, but then Sabine's sort of eagerness and aggression takes hold, and she ends up getting completely like off balance in her, and she gets taken down, which I thought was very interesting because it just showed that the eagerness to be like, I need to learn now, was like, will throw you off completely.
Yeah.
You have to be completely balanced if you're going to be a Jedi.
Patience.
Yeah, patience, exactly. But yeah, so that was again another little point. Was quite noticeable.
Yeah.
We also get to see Hera on Home One again, and she's talking to the New Republic Defense Council, and she's there, and obviously Mon Mothma, I think she's Chancellor now. She's like the leader of the New Republic, so she's there leading the Defense Council. There's a guy, I can't remember his name, but he's like the dad in Resistance. I can't remember his name. The guy that Hera has a bit of a cool little dig at, which I'll get to in a minute. But so he's there, and then there's like some other Defense Council members, whatever. And yeah, it's just quite interesting to see. Obviously, Hera wants to go after the Ring of Zion and help Ahsoka. The Rebel defense fleet is very much like, no, you're just doing this to try and get Ezra. Thrawn isn't back, he's dead, stuff like that. And they're like, no, don't really want to do it. But then Hera comes up with this line, because this senator's going, you just want to use this task force for your own personal gain to get Ezra back, basically, or to hunt Ezra. And then she comes out and says, were you ever in the war, Senator?
Yeah.
And he's like, no. And she's like, so he just sat back and waited to see what side came out on top. Oh. And even you could just see him like, and even Mon Mothma was a bit like, oh dear, schooled. I like that. And a lot of people have criticized Elizabeth's casting as Hera, and I don't get it. I don't get where they're coming from.
I think she plays it really well.
Yeah, to me, when you watch, when you see how she does, she's got Hera's sort of sassiness, but you've got her leadership there as well. And I just think that scene is one of my favorite ones so far. Just her basically saying to the senator, like, you just did nothing during the war. You sat there on your backside waiting for a winner, and then you were going to join whoever won, And also in that scene as well, Mon Mothma says, oh, is Jason here? Which I thought was quite cool. And then obviously Hera's like, oh, he's here somewhere, probably playing with Chopper, And then obviously we get to see Jason for the first time. Now, very interestingly, I don't know where they're going with it, but with the Ghost Lego ship, Jason Sandula has black hair, like brown hair. Brown hair, yeah. But in the show, he still has his green hair that we see at the end of Rebels. So I don't know why they've decided to do that. Why they haven't changed his hair.
Because it is the thing that is Jason's signature thing, isn't it?
Yeah, but then again,
the kid with green hair.
But then again, like the two other characters that you get on the Ghost in the set, like the Mon Calamari bloke and the sort of lieutenant that we see in episode 4, or the two stood behind Hera, they're not actually on the Ghost in episode 4. So it's like, why are they on it and Jason's got green hair? But yeah, bit of a weird one. But obviously as well.
Another thing I'd like to point out about Jason, because I think this is really cute. He's wearing the shoulder armor that Kanan has in Rebels.
Yep.
I thought it was so cute because he's this mini.
Well, he's his son.
Mini Kanan.
Mini Kanan, like that. And also he has it's the exact symbol that Kanan had, which I thought nice little touch.
And obviously, he wants to be a Jedi, and certain scenes that kind of indicate he may be Force sensitive and stuff. But
And we have Hera obviously say to him, like, or, you know, Hera's like, from the way that she responds to him being like, I want to be a Jedi, it's like, Hera's like, I know you do. It's like,
Yeah.
she's not going to let him.
Yeah.
She's not going to let him follow in Kanan's footsteps because she knows.
She doesn't want the same thing to happen.
Yeah, she doesn't want to lose.
No.
She doesn't want to lose him, which, you know,
Doesn't
is
happen.
very true.
Yeah.
And then obviously they come, Ahsoka and Sabine and Huyang come out of hyperspace, and obviously they approach planet Cetos. I thought it was quite cool when he was like, or I think it was Sabine or Ahsoka was like, oh, why have you dropped out of hyperspace so early, like so far from the planet?
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, oh, Jedi protocol, like you come back, survey the planet, you know, so not to, which I thought was quite interesting. And then obviously they are, as they approach the planet, they are engaged by Shin Hati and Maruk and some of Morgan Elsbeth's mercenaries. Now the ships, very much reminiscent of sort of like the Mustangs from World War II. Very similar look, but for me as well, the body, not the wing bit, but the main body of their starfighters is just the General Grievous's ship from Revenge of the Sith and the Clone Wars.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the one, I can't remember what it's called, but the main body of that Kenobi gets in and flies in at the end of Revenge of the Sith and goes on.
It's not the Malevolence?
No, that's the capital ship. I'm talking about his little ship. You know the one I mean? I'm gonna have to get a photo. But yeah, it's one of those. This episode as well was directed by Steph Green again from episode 2. I thought it was an okay episode. Like I said, it's not it's not the best. But then again, obviously, episode 4 happens in a minute and sort of takes over. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
One
One thing we found out, so the planet's called Cetos. Oh, that's it. Yeah.
It's the body of that,
but
obviously with the wings and different from that one. If any of you guys are unaware, that's the one I think it is. The cockpit is basically that.
Yeah. So the planet Cetos, we found out. I think it's like Latin or Greek or something. Cetos, like with a C, is, or Ceto, I think.
Yeah.
Ceto is like Greek for well, as in like herbivore, like the space wells, aren't they? So I thought that was quite cool.
That's very
cool
little detail. And they engage.
Also, we haven't talked about Ahsoka's space outfit.
Oh, we're getting to that. Now, obviously, we get a bit of a dogfight, and it's not going overly well. You know, it's not like they're blasting everyone out of the sky. They're getting quite battered, to be honest. I'm surprised the ship lasted as long as it did. But eventually, they sort of get a foothold. Huyang gets to scan the ring.
Oh, yeah.
And then they obviously have a little bit of a damage. So Ahsoka decides to brave it and put on the spacesuit and get out there and defend them from that.
Yeah.
Now, some people I've seen being like, oh, this is stupid, why are they doing this? But she done it in Clone Wars with Anakin.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. It's like, it's so Clone Wars of her to like have a different outfit, go out there and just, you know, help the situation. It's so Ahsoka.
There is an actual scene in the Clone Wars when she is out there on the ship. I even got a photo of it, actually, and I meant to show you it. Where was it? There we go. There she is, on the outside of the ship in a spacesuit with Anakin.
Is that in the movie, do you reckon?
I don't think it's in the movie.
Oh.
But yeah. So she's done it. She's done it before. So, I mean, I thought it was quite cool. Her spacesuit did look pretty cool, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
The way that like it perfectly fit over
I think
her.
the only thing I would think I would say about it is she gets changed in it like so quick.
That is true.
She sort of runs off, and then all of a sudden she comes out and she's in the spacesuit. And I feel like her everyday outfit would take a bit longer to take off. But also, you're in the middle of a dogfight and like you want to get to the point. So
yeah, you probably kind of need to get it on pretty quickly. I mean, I don't know how much time.
But yeah, I thought it was cool how it like protected her Leku and stuff like that.
It was perfect, like fit for it. It just looked good. But yeah.
So nod to the costume department for making that
and then
really well.
Obviously she does a little jump and takes one of the ships out, which I thought was quite cool.
Yeah.
And then obviously the ship gets back working. They land on the planet. And basically we see the Purgle as well before they land. They sort of escape Marok and Shin. And there's also a bit which got everyone quite excited when Shin says, Marok, form up on my wing. And Marok in his sort of, which we hear for the first time in his voice is like, as you wish. And everyone immediately was finding the clips of Starkiller telling Vader, as you wish. And we were like, oh, it's him. I was also one of those people, not going to lie.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, that was me. I was being like, Starkiller. 100% it's Starkiller.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that in a little bit as well. But yeah, so then obviously they land on the planet and we see that the ship is badly damaged and they can't communicate. And that's basically episode 3. Again, wasn't a special episode. It wasn't overly exciting.
It was quite short compared to the other ones.
Yeah. I think it was 36 minutes. Yes, it was, because I remember I said it to
yes.
I've got to say this, right? I called it. Like, before we put it on, I said, I bet this episode is going to be 36 minutes long. Because I didn't know. And I was like, I'm just going to guess. And it was like 36:42 complete. Yeah. I was like, called it. I knew it. Yeah, I mean, if I was to give it sort of out of 10, probably going to give this one maybe like a 5. Again, it's not an episode that's going to be rememberable. It had moments like the bit of like Hera telling the guy being like, "Did you just sat back and waited?" So like that bit was cool. The dog fights in space was cool. You know, seeing the Purgle as well was quite cool. Do you know what? I'm going to put it up to a 6.
Okay.
But it's not a memorable episode. I'm not going to be here in years' time discussing it with you, being like, "Oh, episode 3 of Ahsoka was underrated." Nah,
but you know, still an important little bit to the story to join all the episodes together and things.
Yep.
I enjoyed it though.
I did. Yep. I'm still enjoying the show. I'm very happy with it. And then obviously we're moving on to episode 4. Oh my god.
So good.
I'm going to put it out there. I'm sorry, people, but I'm putting it out there. Best live action Star Wars TV show episode so far. Yeah. I've said it.
I think the next episode's going to be.
I might be saying that next week as well. But so far was just incredible.
Yeah.
Like, obviously we'll talk about it in a sec, but like the action, the story, the dialogue as well, everything about it, just perfect.
Yeah.
So obviously I've had a little look because I have to give him a shout out. The episode was done by Peter Ramsey. And I think if I remember right, he was one of the guys who directed Into the Spider-Verse. I can't remember.
Oh,
Yes, he was. He was one of those. He was one of the 3 directors from Into the Spider-Verse. Now, I got to take my hat off to him because this episode was fantastic. Now, I know a lot of the writing is obviously going to be Filoni's work, but Peter brought this episode to life, and He'd done a magnificent job. Obviously, we'll get to our ratings at the end of the show, but I'm already telling you, mine's a 10 out of 10. But yeah, I just mean it was just such a good episode, wasn't it? Just.
I feel like because we watched it together, every like few minutes we were just looking at each other like, oh my god, oh my god.
There's when you're watching something, and there'll be a moment where you're like you'll put your hand on the other one's arm or something, be like, oh my god, like, are you seeing this? Like, I've done that in the cinema, like, and it's moments that you don't forget. Like when I went to the cinema, and obviously I went and saw like No Way Home, and like Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire come out. You know, it's moments like that you'll never forget, and you literally are like, my god. There was moments in this show where I was like, I thought I was going to cry. So we see we start the episode off with Hu Yang doing repairs on the ship. Sort of standard stuff, trying to contact Home One using the call sign Fulcrum, which is Ahsoka's call sign. Nice to see that they've sort of kept that as like her name all through Rebels, all through this, simple thing. And then obviously we see Ahsoka and Sabine outside, and she says to Sabine, and I think this was quite powerful, and to be honest, it's very true. She's like, if we can't make the journey to save Ezra, we might just have to make sure that they don't bring Thrawn back. So we have to stop them. If we can't save Ezra, we got to make sure that the enemy don't bring Thrawn back, sort of thing. And obviously this will have implications later on in the episode, but it's like, it's an important moment at the start of the show, isn't it? It's like, oh my god, like Ahsoka's prepared to lose Ezra, to save the galaxy, really. Now, this bit we noticed on a video that we saw on TikTok. Now, it is a very blink and you miss it picture. So I've taken a picture of it, and let me tell you, I had to pause this like 6 times to get it quick. Like, it's literally less than a second on the screen. It's that close. Basically, we see Hera and Jason and Chopper heading towards the Ghost on Home One, which, again, I think the space shot of the ships look incredible. Home One surrounded by, like, the corvettes, the medical frigate. I was just like, this is Star Wars. This is it. This is like the Republic fleet. And so we see them get on the ship, and just before Hera walks in front and walks down to take control of the controls of the Ghost, we see the Ghost cockpit, and we see her console. Now, this was a moment where I was like, when I saw the video, I was like, this is beautiful. So it is a bit of a blurry photo and you can't really make out, but you can clearly see something here. So this is on Hera's control. Where has it gone? There we go. Right. So who is that? There is only one person that can be. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. Who would Hera have a picture of on her cockpit?
Because it's definitely not Jason.
No.
That is a picture of Kanan that she has on her like console. And for me, I was just like, I know you can't really see it, and I know you're like, everyone's trying to look in and see like, what does it look like? But there is no one else Kanan would have. You can clearly see as well that the guy, it's a guy. He's got a sort of what looks like a little bit of a beard, like a little bit. And it also is definitely not a Twi'lek.
No.
Because he doesn't have the tail. I genuinely think that is like a picture of Freddie Prinze Jr.
Yeah?
Yeah. With short hair.
I think that's cute.
I think again, by having just that picture in it, you don't need like a high resolution photo of Freddie Prinze as Kanan. You're just looking at it and it's like, you just know. And if I hadn't seen this video, I wouldn't have noticed it.
No.
But the fact that someone pointed it out, fair play to you for seeing that and making me pause it and take a photo of it. But yeah, underrated moment in the episode for me. They've added that little detail.
It makes me think, is there going to be another scene where she picks it up and looks at it?
Oh my god, could you imagine? That would be it.
Yeah.
I think I might cry.
The next episode, we'll see it again.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I just wanted to point that little detail out for you. Obviously, it's quite noticeable when you look at it that it's definitely, in my opinion, it's definitely okay.
Yeah.
But yeah. So we see that, and then obviously we see the ghost leave Home 1.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's flanked by, I think it's 5 X-Wings.
Okay.
5 X-Wings, yeah. And one of them, Carson Teva from The Mandalorian.
He makes a return.
I was like, I'm so glad Carson Teva's there. I like him. I thought he was really good in The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And little bridge gap between sort of Mandalorian and Ahsoka series.
Yeah. So
even tiny little
like,
detail.
What point? Because Star Wars is very here 1 minute, there the next and stuff.
Yep.
But obviously with him being in it, obviously Ahsoka being in Mandalorian and stuff, it very much kind of ties in whereabout in the timeline we're at. So
yeah. I think
cool.
Nice to see. And then obviously we get like 4 other X-Wings pilots. I can't remember their names, but they're all sort of, there's like one that was like John Wayne's son. He's like, I think he's like the stunt guy for the Mando.
Oh, okay.
For like actual Din Djarin, he's like the stunt one.
Yeah.
Then there was like one of the production team people.
Yeah, there was someone playing, I can't remember, but what's the name of the species that Greedo is?
Oh, Rodian.
Rodian, that's it. Yeah, there's
Speaking honey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Rodian.
My plunky. But yeah, no, so we see that, and then a little thing as well. I don't know if you know, I can't remember how many it is, but at least one of the X-Wings is like white and green, like Green Squadron, that we see Hera be like a leader, and then obviously Carson calls her Phoenix leader, and I was like, little rebel callback as well. There,
I mean, she is the Phoenix leader.
Yeah, she is the leader. Saw some people saying, why is she taking her son with her?
That's true.
Bit of a, not gonna lie, it's a little bit of a questionable decision, but then at the same time as well, it's like, she really just gonna leave her young son on Home 1 with like no one, not with exactly like a parent, and everything Jason knows is with Hera. She was in the Battle of Rogue One, the Battle of Scarif, and she was pregnant at the time. This is a woman, like a mother determined. She's not leaving her son anymore.
No.
So, yeah, I think it makes sense. And plus, she probably wants him to meet Ezra.
Yeah.
Sort of her adopted son in a way, which is quite cool. So yeah, we get to see that, and then obviously we sort of go back to the ship in the woods, where Hu Yang is working on the ship, which he is then attacked by a HK droid, one of these assassin droids, and we see his 4 arms come into play, giving it the like defense, like his like sort of left shoulder arm sort of comes through, and is good to see Hu Yang like actually defending himself. And for a while, he held his own.
Yeah.
But the fact that he deliberately hit the ship to get Ahsoka and Sabine's attention was very smart as well. And then obviously that battle itself wasn't overly exciting. It was just sort of Sabine in her Mando armor blasting some guys, and Ahsoka
I think
slashing them up.
It was nice to see her back in her armor again.
The helmet looked
with
good.
her helmet, yeah. I think, yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, and then obviously we see them sort of leave the ship to be like to go after, you know, the bad guys, and they come across Marok and Shin, everyone's new favorite Star Wars female, shall we say? The amount of edits that I have seen for Shin is unbelievable. This fan base is just like, oh my god, there's a female.
I know.
It's quite funny though, but yeah. So they come across them, and
another thing I'd like to point out, and I suppose this is kind of like foreshadowing. So when they're with Hu Yang after they've defeated the droid and stuff, and then they're about to go off to battle with Balin and Shin. He says to them, "Do not split up." He's like, "That's the only thing I recommend. Do not split up," or something. But what happens? They end up getting split up.
they split up.
You know.
Yeah, we see Sabine using being a bit more effective against Shin.
Yeah.
Using her blasters
Straight into
to.
what she knows and uses the blasters.
Yep. Obviously, Shin as well, quite clever, just running off, making sure to split them up.
Yeah.
And we see sort of Marek have a bit of a duel with Ahsoka.
Mm-hmm. Interestingly, she only uses one saber, doesn't she?
Yeah, and she goes against him very differently than she did on what's it called, Corellia, on the shipyard. It was very different. It was very different style. You know, there was like the whole Anakin waiting for him to charge. Yeah. And again, obviously, it's an inquisitor, shall we say, and she deals with him very quickly. Yeah. Now, I remember this was quite funny when she sliced sort of him from his chest, and there's that shot of him, and he's like, "You clearly got the cut." You made like a loud gasp when it happened. You were like, which I thought was quite funny. Then you're like, "Oh my god!" And then
that's the thing. Like everyone made such a big deal of like who is Marok, and like I don't know, they made him look so cool, and I don't know. I feel like he just lived a really short life, and we thought it was going to be like this big character reveal and stuff. Because everyone was saying it could be Barriss, it could be the fifth brother, it could be
Ezra clone.
Ezra, yeah. And we obviously thought it would be kind of like a Galen Marek type person.
Now I've got to take my hat off, because if we don't see anything to do with this character again, I've got to take my hat off to Dave Filoni, because he has created this character, right? That he knew the way that they showed him up to this point, everyone would be talking about him. Oh, his name Marok is very similar to Galen Marek. Sam Witwer's name is in the additional voices. The way that he fights, he is like, oh, this mysterious character. He's clearly a big deal.
Yeah. And
Dave Filoni is sat there watching all of us come out with these theories, and he's laughing.
Probably.
Because he knows he has swindled every one of us, because every one of us was like, it's a big character, and then all we see is the Night Sister magic, like sort of gas come out of him, and he sort of like screams and dies.
Yeah.
So this character was obviously a brother of the, you know,
a Night Brother.
Night Brother, that's it. So someone from Dathomir, someone like Maul, and
because the same thing happened with Savage Press.
Can I put out a new fan theory?
Yeah.
Marok is Savage Press.
Possibly.
He is reincarnated.
No, because you're you got that wrong.
Oh.
Because in the Clone Wars, there was all like the ghosts, like Night Sister witches and stuff. So maybe it was like a ghost of Savage.
I don't think it will. I mean, if it ends up being Savage, you know it was me. Will from the 501st Contract was the first person to say Marok was Savage. Okay,
that would be cool though.
I mean, yeah, clearly it's like this Marok was dead, so he was a dead Night Brother somehow, because that's why he was basically always around Morgan, because obviously Night Sister magic, so she has been the one to basically revive this person. But again, I'm not sure. It's not Savage because when
Savage was never an Inquisitor or anything.
No, but when he was killed by as well, like he went back to his skinny form as well, so he wouldn't have. Because if you remember because he completely went back, but yeah, it's definitely a dead Night Brother and was a nobody. I know that sounds really bad, but that's what it is. He was a nobody.
I mean, he could have been an Inquisitor that we never got to see, and then he died, and then he got brought back by a witch.
Maybe he was the 8th brother that died in Ahsoka.
Maybe, but his armor was different, so I'm leaning towards.
It was very similar, but it was different because it came down a bit. But yeah, so we see that, and then obviously Shin sees.
I'm hoping they'll bring a bit more of a backstory to him.
Maybe.
Because his armor was really cool. Like we've never seen that, and so different. It's almost kind of like fencing armor.
Medieval knight.
Yeah. Because you couldn't really see his face and stuff. So.
But yeah, very interesting to see what they do, if they do anything with the character again. Obviously, Shin sees this and hears sort of the scream, and obviously we see Sabine and Shin engaging in close quarters with Ezra's lightsaber again. Again, Shin is outmatching Sabine completely. We then see basically Sabine try and use the Force on Shin, and it doesn't work. But then it's also a trick because she uses her.
She sort of goes, and then realizes.
And then uses the wrist to throw Shin off completely, which I thought was a cool little Sabine nod, because that's definitely something she tried against Kanan when the Protector, I can't remember his name, Jinrao? Is that his name? Fenrir. Yeah. When he basically gives her the gauntlets and that. But yeah, so then obviously Ahsoka runs off to stop Baylan and Morgan. Morgan's already left on the ship. Baylan sort of stays behind. There's also a very interesting line when Baylan says we should get going soon, and Morgan immediately thinks, oh, he's scared of Ahsoka, but she's like, oh, is that fear? I think he's like experience, like he knows, even though he doesn't know Ahsoka, he knows what she's basically capable of and who she is, in a way. And so I think that was a cool little nod as well to that. And then obviously they meet up, and we get obviously the line from the trailer and the title of this episode. Everyone in the Order knew Anakin Skywalker, but few lived to see what he became.
Yes.
Which I thought was very interesting. Again, I know we sort of mentioned it with the trailer before, but it's like he knows Anakin became Vader. Yeah. Which is,
how does he know? We have so many questions.
Yes.
We need answers.
But I think as well, his power in the Force, he sees things that others don't. Like when he was talking to Morgan, like in episode 2 at the end, and he was like, Ahsoka's presence in the Force is elusive, but her determination is vivid. Like he can see that, and she's not even nowhere near them, and he can sense her that powerful. I think he's really powerful. Like I think he's great. Again, probably my favorite character in the show.
Yeah.
And then obviously he sort of taunts Anakin's betrayal at Ahsoka, basically blaming her in a way, making her feel guilty, saying, "Oh, I'm sure it leaves a mark," and all that. And then they have a very good lightsaber battle. And it's very interesting to see because we all see Ahsoka and she's going to dominate. She beat Maul, she beat the Inquisitors. She's held her own with other people before. She damaged Vader, for God's sake.
Yeah.
She took off half his helmet. Like, 2 people have done that. Ahsoka and Kenobi. So tells you something. She's good. And the fact that Balin pushed her to the very edge, like in terms of ability, shows you how good he is. And basically at the end he beats her. I got to be honest though, something I did pick up on one of our videos we were watching. When she sees Shin come back first to help Balin, she thinks Sabine's dead. So she uses basically she goes a bit angry and throws Shin against the wall, basically using the dark side really. Which is quite interesting to see. And obviously then she sees Sabine and is like, oh, okay. But then Balin basically absolutely beats her and sends her off the edge of the cliff. And we're like, oh God, what's going on? What's going on?
Like, what? Is she okay?
And then we see Sabine holding the orb with a blaster at it.
Because she could destroy it before she falls off.
But then Balin, very cleverly, and showing the person that he is, just straight away basically puts his lightsaber back on and just talks to him. He's like, look, I know you're doing this to get Ezra back. That's what you want, We're
both going to the same place.
Basically, look, give over the orb, and she gives in.
Yeah.
And she gives him the orb and lets the bad guys basically get away. They take. What did you do? What are you doing?
What did you do?
And we see them obviously go up onto the ship. Sabine obviously in handcuffs.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, I don't know if Sabine's got motives, but the fact that a helmet in every episode at the start has been red.
Yeah.
The episode itself is called Fallen Jedi. Again, very clever in the title because it very easily
fallen off a cliff.
Well, yeah, Ahsoka's fallen off the cliff. Balin is a fallen Jedi in a way because he's left the order. So is Shin. Sabine is a fallen Jedi as well because at the end she gives in to the Balin and
Yeah.
But then it could also mean the big one. I'm going to talk about it in a bit. And then obviously before we get to that, we see the Ghost and the X-Wings come out of hyperspace and sort of go towards the Ring of Zion. Now, something that I thought was really cool, I gotta say, I really love this bit. When the Ring of Zion goes into hyperspace, and you just see the sort of trail that it leaves, and it basically throws all the ships, like the X-Wings and the Ghost, basically all over the shop. I've seen people being like, oh, they've done this in The Last Jedi, why isn't all the ships destroyed and in bits? But it's like, if you remember, she sent a massive cruiser into the main ship. This one was a massive ring with nothing in the middle, and it basically they went through them, so calm down. But I did like seeing the effect of basically going through hyperspace through another vehicle, like ship. And obviously 2 of the X-Wings crash. I think another one was on fire. And then you had the sort of Ghost and 2 other X-Wings, Carson Teva and another one. looked like they were
all
okay.
trying to guess kind of like what ship would that be for? Because Hugh Yang said that he'd never seen one so big, that hyperspace ring. But it's interesting. Like I don't think we've ever seen in Star Wars a hyperspace ring move without a ship being in it.
Yep.
So
if you think how many
Yeah.
hyperdrives it actually had, it had 7
That's true.
hyperdrives, I think, or 8.
So like it is a bit of a weird one.
But then I said it to you earlier. Now I'm thinking, obviously we've seen in another thing I'll quickly mention towards the upcoming episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Everything we have seen in all the trailers, except for the 2 little bits of the back of Thrawn's head and the front of Thrawn, is from episodes 1 to 4.
Yeah.
We haven't seen, apart from those 2 like second clip scenes from Thrawn, we haven't seen anything from episodes 5, 6, 7, 8.
So we don't know what's
We haven't got a
other than
clue.
Thrawn.
And I'm so glad that they've done it like that.
Yeah.
So this second half of the series, no one knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's always a surprise.
And I think that's, again, so good because it just leaves the fan. Could you imagine if it's like, in the trailer we see like Ezra sort of stood there with like his lightsaber or something.
Yeah.
You'd know, they find Ezra and he gets his lightsaber back or something. But the fact that they've done it like that, superb.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously Hera sort of speaks to Jason. Jason's like, something's not right.
Yeah.
I think that's his intuition with the Force saying that.
Yep.
I don't think that's just a kid being like, oh dear.
Got a bad feeling about this.
Yeah, no, I think this is his connection to. This
Yeah.
is him as not as a Jedi, but with the Force being like something doesn't feel right.
Yeah, I reckon he's definitely Force sensitive to what the midichlorians.
Yep.
Because obviously his dad was.
Yep.
He was quite a powerful Jedi, so
He was.
yeah.
And then we see Hugh Yang trying to contact Sabine, and obviously Sabine's on the Ring of Zion, so she's completely gone.
I'm just thinking, like, what is Sabine thinking right now? Because she's just seen her master, Ahsoka, fall off a cliff. Like, is she thinking that she's dead? Is that why she's gone with being on? Like,
well, she wants Ezra, in my opinion. That's
Yeah.
what she wants. But
maybe she's being a bit selfish and just being like, I want to see Ezra. I don't really care about Ahsoka, kind of thing. Which, yeah, I don't know.
as well, I didn't little detail that I picked up on that Balin says to Sabine. He says about all your family's dead. Ezra's your last family.
Yeah.
So does that mean all of the Wren family, her brother, her mother, her dad, are all dead on Mandalore?
I don't know if it means they are dead or if they just sort of abandoned her and don't
Possibly.
want anything to do with her. Who knows?
Possibly. But yeah, so we see that, and then
But also there was the purge of Mandalore, so perhaps they got taken in the purge because there's no one on Mandalore other than the Mythos that we know of.
Yep.
So who knows? We might bump into her family at some point.
Maybe.
Season 2.
But yeah, so we see Hugh Yang trying to contact Home One. We see him trying to contact Sabine. Sabine's gone, and then obviously he's like, Ahsoka.
Mm-hmm.
No response. So we then see this wonderful overhead shot of the ruins on Cetos go into the sort of sea cliff where Ahsoka went, and then it perfectly transitions into Ahsoka where she is. The world between. You see it, and then she's like sort of led there, and
because to start with, you almost think she's just lying in water below.
It's very cleverly
done. But then
done.
It sort of pans out, and then you think, hang on a minute, this isn't just regular water.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you sort of see her move, and you see the walkway, and then straight away it's like she's in the world between worlds. Oh my god, what's going on? And then
she stands up, and she hears something.
She hears hey Snips. Let me tell you, that was one of those moments where I was like,
my gosh.
did you hear that? I was like, oh my god. And then she's like, Master. And then he goes, you hear, I wasn't expecting to see you so soon.
Yeah.
And then she's like, wait a minute. Slowly turns around, and then we see it. Oh, Hayden Christensen back as Anakin.
Oh,
my god.
it's so cool.
I genuinely was like, are you seeing this? Are you seeing this?
Like, oh my god.
I'm sorry our neighbours, like, but I'm sorry, it was just too much excitement.
Yeah.
It was so good seeing him back.
Yeah.
And I was like, obviously, I've met Hayden and I know the kind of like guy that he is. And I could just tell you, I had the biggest smile on my face seeing this guy back and looking like Revenge of the Sith Anakin as well. I was
like, so good.
Now, again, I know, people are gonna say it, and I've seen people say it. They're like, his face looks weird, guys. Hayden Christensen is like almost 50.
Yeah.
And
Revenge of the
he's
Sith was nearly 20 years ago.
like 2005.
Yes.
It? So 18 years later, he is back.
So I think they've done a bit of like how they do Luke Skywalker on his face.
Yeah,
but
well, they've de-aged
so
him.
Good. I cannot fault it. Like.
Okay, well, Hayden's 42.
Yeah.
Now, guys, if you
chill about Hayden.
If you have
for a second.
Let us just, all of us, now I know the majority are loving the fact that we're seeing this guy again. I've seen so many videos being like, we've got this guy back. And we get to see his little side sort of smirk.
And he's got his little scar as well. And the hair is like perfect.
I was just so pleased to see. We all knew Hayden was going to be in it, but no one thought it was going to be like this. Yeah. Everyone thought it was going to be his voice or like a Force ghost thing. But to see him as clear as we see him in this picture. Wow.
I feel like when Kenobi was airing, we all thought there was going to be a scene like this where he would come up. And all we saw was like the flashback scenes of him with like the clone troopers and the episode 2 version of Anakin,
which was beautiful,
and also the bit where Kenobi sees him from distance and you just see him with his cloak on. But
I don't know if you've seen any of the behind the scenes of
like
that.
Actually seeing him.
Yeah, but did you see any of the behind the scenes of that when Kenobi saw him from the distance?
Yeah.
He was dressed and looked like this, just hooded.
I know. Because I don't know if you guys have seen it on Disney Plus. There's something called Disney Gallery, and there's one for like each show they've done. So it's like one's for Mandalorian, one's for Book of Boba Fett, one's for Kenobi, and it shows like all the behind the scenes of how they film certain things and stuff. So if you're into behind the scenes, definitely check it out. But yeah, I've seen that one where I think he said like, "Hey, Master" or something, and it's so cool.
It's so cool. It's just so nice to see him back.
I know.
Now,
so cool.
I'm going to put some things out there that I've noticed, and a lot of people are noticing. Now, a lot of people don't think this is Anakin.
No.
Now, again, I'm sort of leaning towards it.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing that I will basically dismiss straight away, in my theory, for who this is or whatever, everyone's saying about his lightsaber doesn't look right. Now, when you look at the people who have like got zoomed in pictures and freeze frames, it is so hard to tell what the lightsaber actually looks like because of where it is and sort of the shadows on it, and because it's not a clear look, you can't. I don't believe anyone's going, oh, that's not Anakin Saber. It's like I can't see it.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to base my theory on him not being Anakin on a saber being like that I can't see.
Yeah.
You know. But what I will say, and what I do think, is at the end when it then goes back to Ahsoka and then cuts straight to black at the end of the episode, you hear the start of the Imperial March. Yeah. Which is Vader's theme.
Yeah.
Which tells me this isn't Anakin as such. Now, I don't believe it's Vader because I believe Vader is dead.
Yeah.
Possibly the son from the Mortis gods.
Yeah.
That's who I'm sort of leaning towards. You know. Now, see, I'm gonna put this. Shall I tell them my theory?
Yeah.
Because no one else has picked up on.
Yeah.
Right. Bear with me, but listen to this. No one has made this connection. In the Clone Wars, Ahsoka, Anakin, and Kenobi go on a mission. They end up going to Mortis.
The planet Mortis.
Mortis, and they come across the Mortis gods.
Yeah.
The son, who's basically the embodiment of the dark side, the daughter, the embodiment of the light, and the father, the balance. Now, this happens, and there's a lot that goes on, and I'm not going to completely just talk about the whole Mortis arc.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot happens. You know, the son kills the daughter, and the daughter basically's life goes into Ahsoka.
Mm-hmm.
So Ahsoka's technically representing the light now of the Force. Now, this is my theory. Are you listening? Are you ready?
Yeah.
You ready? When they come out of Mortis, time hasn't passed for them. They've literally been woken up.
It's almost like a dream.
Yeah, it's like a dream. It's not happened because Cody or Rex, I can't remember which one, was like, or they were like, oh, how long was I gone? And they were like, well, you haven't. With the right there.
Like, oh, just a couple of seconds or something.
Yeah. Basically, nothing has gone, no time has passed. Anyway, going on to Rebels, who are the three people guarding the entrance to
The world
between worlds? The Mortis gods.
Yeah. And he moves the daughter's hand to open the gate.
Yeah. So, my theory, the Mortis itself, where the Mortis gods were, is also the world between worlds.
Yeah.
Now, I know some of you are going to be like, that's rubbish, but think about it. Like, the Mortis gods are on the Jedi Temple at the entrance to the world between worlds.
Mm-hmm.
When Ahsoka, Kenobi, and Anakin go there, they come back out and no time has passed and everything that they have learned has basically been like forgotten, shall we say. Mm-hmm. So my theory is obviously this scene is 100% in the world between worlds. We know that.
Yeah.
The blue walkway, where she is, what she's seeing, and also in the world between worlds in Mortis,
mm-hmm.
they don't look like Force ghosts. They look like actual apparitions.
Yeah.
Like Shmi did for Anakin,
mm-hmm.
like Qui-Gon did for Kenobi, and like older Ahsoka did for young Ahsoka.
Mm-hmm.
So my theory, this is the son in disguising himself as Anakin. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, if Ahsoka is representing the light, the sister, mm-hmm. he's representing the dark. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Now, again, there's been a lot of talk that we're going to go to Mustafar and we're going to see Anakin battle Kenobi, and we're going to see Ahsoka fight with Kenobi or, you know, join the battle. Mm-hmm. Now, my opinion is, so this is a little theory I've got for an upcoming episode, the mm-hmm. next episode. The son, posing as Anakin, mm-hmm. is going to show Ahsoka the battle on Mustafar, and is basically going to say to her, go and help and go and change what's happened and stuff. And basically, she's going to see that, and then she's going to be like, no. And she's going to have a battle with the Son as Anakin and Ahsoka in the World Between Worlds, which I
But
can't wait to
also,
see.
the Son was voiced by Sam Witwer. So maybe Sam Witwer will make an appearance.
He's coming, ladies and gentlemen. Sam Witwer will appear, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
But
that would be super cool.
going back from that, I'm sorry, but Hayden Christensen again in Star Wars, looking as good as he does there. I'm so happy he's back.
So cool. Love it. Also, if your theory is right, if Ahsoka sees, whether that's the Son or whoever, whether Ahsoka sees all of Anakin's like downfall on Mustafar and all that, in the Book of Boba Fett, she obviously sees Luke, says, "You're so much like your father," and all this, and he's like, "Hope to see you again." If she sees more of Anakin, if she met up with Luke again and told him everything to know about his father and how he turned to Darth Vader, and because like Luke doesn't want to believe that Darth Vader is his father, and he doesn't know how he got to that point. So that would just be amazing.
So you reckon Luke's going to turn up at some point?
Possibly.
I could see it. Could you imagine a Luke versus Anakin battle? Oh my god! I don't know if I don't think the whole I think the franchise will just destroy itself if they see that.
But also, I mean, they've done this with Hayden Christensen. Maybe there can be a scene with Luke. Maybe, I'm not sure if it will be in this series, but imagine if they brought Luke back, him actually speaking to Anakin's Force Ghost that he saw, at the end of Return of the Jedi. That would be really cool. Because they've proven they can bring Anakin back.
I've seen some theories that people are like, oh, it's the father. Anakin, basically, after he died, took on the place as the father, as the balance.
In the water, yeah.
But I don't know. But that could be. But I will say, could you imagine if they had an Anakin and
Because also Anakin is the chosen one.
Yeah.
So.
And the father did try and convince him to be like, take my place.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know how he would go from dying to becoming a Force ghost at the end of Return of the Jedi to then becoming the Mortis. But
who knows?
Let's just enjoy the fact that we've got Hayden Christensen back in Star Wars, and he looked good. Yeah. And I'm so happy to see him. 10 out of 10 for this episode. Yeah. Best Star Wars TV live action show so far.
Yeah.
What would you give it?
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10?
Yeah. But I think next week's is going to be better.
I think next week is going to be like 11.
9.5 out of 10.
I think next week's going to be like 11 out of 10. I think.
It's going to be like 12.
It's going to be crazy next episode. I cannot wait for it. So we have that's basically our episode for today. Quite a fun one talking about Ahsoka. I love talking about it.
I love this show.
I love it. It's like my favorite one.
It's so good.
Did you have a trip of the week?
I do.
Oh, you do?
Let me just grab my
While Chloe is grabbing her phone, I'm going to show Meme of the Week. Now, this one I found, and you straight away was like, that's Meme of the Week.
Yeah.
The dance floor normally, the dance floor when the cha-cha slide comes on.
Uh-huh.
Now, I don't know if you've ever been to a party, but normally it is a free-for-all in a club. It is a war zone, like the first one. When the cha-cha slide comes on, everyone is in full unison.
Take it back now, y'all.
Everyone is in perfect sync. Everyone is not fighting.
No.
If you want to stop a fight at the club, just put the cha-cha slide on. And I just thought this meme was brilliant. And the fact that it had you like laughing at it, you're like, yeah, that's meme of the week. So yeah, that is meme of the week. The cha-cha slide. Right.
So my troop of the week is another Darth Vader cosplayer. He's called Greyus Cosplay 2.0. He is in Australia. There you go. There's a picture. So he's Revenge of the Sith Vader. Apparently, he was the first Revenge of the Sith Vader cosplayer to ever be in the world. But yeah, so he had really good cosplay. So yeah, that's my cheap movie.
Well, it's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
To be honest, I haven't really found one that has like really stood up for me this week.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just gonna give it a very generic troop of the week to all those people doing the very good Anakin coming back.
Yeah.
Edits.
Although one thing I will say, a lot of people have been spoiling it, like the day of.
Yeah.
I feel like you have to watch it as soon as it's released, and sort of if you don't, you need to avoid Instagram and TikTok because so many people love to spoil it. And obviously, with something as big as Anakin, you know, he is the main guy in Star Wars.
Very interestingly, though, I pointed it out to you.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen the poster that they released for the first 4 episodes, Anakin's on it.
Yeah.
This is the official poster that Star Wars have released for the first 4 episodes. Like when I did the announcement video today,
you had to cover it up.
I deliberately put the text over Anakin's face
just in case anyone hadn't seen it yet.
It's crazy, but I will say all the edits that I'm seeing of them are just like flashbacks from Clone Wars and Revenge of the Sith, and it's just like it's so nice to see.
So good.
So honourable troop of the week, Hayden Christensen.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir, for making me a happy fan again.
Yes.
Love it.
He is my favourite character.
But yeah, so that is it from us this week.
Yeah.
We'll be back next week, probably a different day. If
We've
got to work out the day, but it will be a different day, but we'll sort that out.
Mm-hmm.
But we hope you've enjoyed listening to us discuss episode 3 and 4 of Ahsoka. And we will see you guys next week.
In the next one.